we welcome you to Louisville, Kentucky and the USL Championship tonight. The broadcast is presented by Baptist Health. It's been a majorly disappointing and disheartening week for the beautiful game in Louisville, but tonight Louisville City will take the field, ready to take on Detroit City. Let's take a look at the Eastern Conference standings. Louisville City with a win today and Memphis dropping points later tonight could lock up the number one seed in the Eastern Conference. For Detroit, they're just 1 point off Birmingham Legion and a fourth spot, meaning a home playoff game at Keyworth to begin the postseason. For Louisville, they're coming off a win midweek as well. Wilson Harris, number 14, bagged his 14th goal of the season, a delayed celebration on the Del Piccolo service, and the header by Tyler Derrick, but it's enough to inch Louisville City past RGV at HEB Park, where dreams go to die. Mike Watts joined by Devin Kerr. And Devin, a little bit of history made in that game Wednesday. Plenty more here to make tonight moving forward.
This is one of the most difficult fan bases in the entire Eastern Conference because the precedent was set from year one. Eastern Conference finalist every single year. They've won a few of those. Of course, they've got 2 stars above the crest when they've taken down the entire league. And yet, they can set a single season points record. They've already set the wins record. An opportunity to tie the league home wins record at 13 with their final 2 at home. You can see the goal differential and shutouts as well. Basically, Mike, the only record that's unavailable for anybody on this team to set is Cameron Lancaster's of 2018 and 25. Wilson Harris is going to have to be on something special in the final 2 to do that.
Yeah, just, like 4 hat tricks. All good. Dev, you talk about home for Louisville, home for Detroit. Massive advantage, and they're still in position to try and get a first-round home playoff game.
How impressive was that conversation with Trevor James when you talked about, listen, would you guys rather get 2 victories and, move into the playoffs into that home 4 spot, or would you rather look good doing it? This is plain and simple. They want a top 4 spot. They want a home playoff game. They are 7 games unbeaten. Their last loss, August 20th against Louisville, they were 7 games winless at home. This team needs a top 4 spot. They do not want to be on the road round 1 of the playoffs.
All right, it has been a brutally painful few days for Lou City fans. We'll touch on that as we move forward here at Lynn Family Stadium, but a major match with playoff implications to come. Lou City, Detroit City is coming up next.
Keep going. Keep working. Keep climbing. And always keep playing. With the unmatched orthopedic care at Baptist Health. With a best-in-class team, along with services and procedures you won't find anywhere else in the region, it's no wonder most people choose us to help them keep moving and doing the things that move them. Find a Baptist Health provider today.
England. That was terrific! USA. Go, US! At Wembley Stadium, Friday at 2:30 Eastern on Fox.
This is Aaron. Aaron is responsible for prepping the stadium for Lou City game day. His team puts in a lot of work, transforming this into this. But weather can get in the way. So to ensure the crowd will be safe, they call Mark at WDRB for the official green light to play. Making the right call and keeping everyone safe. WDRB Weather, the source.
When the Thompsons first bought their house, all they saw was their dream home. They didn't yet know that with a home equity line of credit from Commonwealth Credit Union, it would be their keys to epic cannonballs and the chance to see the world. As years went by, it allowed them to empower the next generation and make happily ever after come true. Which begs the question, what could your home be doing for you? Let's find out together. Commonwealth Credit Union. Here, we see you differently.
Do I think the people are resilient in Louisville, Kentucky? I know for a fact they're resilient. When you're a journalist, people share very personal information. They're sharing with you their hurt. They're sharing with you their loss. And you feel that in your heart.
It's will versus water.
A heartwarming story that will inspire you. When we see a story of somebody in our community overcoming adversity to do great things, it gives us hope.
Did you know Toyota actually spends $1 million every hour of every day on R&D?
It's all part of an even larger $36 billion investment to design and build vehicles in the USA.
Made in America means something to Toyota, like 176,000 jobs and over 32 million Toyotas built right here in the USA.
And for over 20 years, Toyota's electrified vehicles have been leading the way towards a better tomorrow.
The more you know, the more you'll drive Toyota.
Let's go places.
Fans tonight in Louisville are protesting after horrifying revelations on Monday in U.S. Soccer's investigation led by former U.S. Deputy Attorney General Sally Yates. The report found systemic abuse in the NWSL, including those committed by Racing Louisville FC's former coach, Christy Holly. The report specifically mentioned front office actions, including those of club president James O'Connor, among others. The NWSL's independent investigation, commissioned by the league and the Players Association, expected to be released after this season concludes. Supporters tonight protesting in teal, the color that signifies sexual assault awareness, in search of meaningful, systemic change to protect players. Let's take a look at the lineups here tonight as we prepare for this USL Championship match between Louisville City and Detroit. The Louisville City lineup presented by Craft House Pizza.
It's the perfect game of cat and mouse tonight that will see Tyler Gibson and Corbin Bone return from suspension into the injury room next to Paolo Del Piccolo. Wilson Harris on his 14 goals. Is going to be interesting with the back three. They're very good at condensing themselves, but as they go, can you provide enough space on the outside with overlaps from your outside backs, especially from Manny Perez on the right side, that he can produce in distribution? But for our Commonwealth Credit Union player to watch, I look at Kyle Morton. He is your Commonwealth Credit Union player to watch because he set the single season record for shutouts. He is the most influential player to this team that they brought in the offseason. Only 19 goals against in 27 appearances. With the way that this Detroit City team transitions, it all starts with him because Opano and Matthews will come high. Connor Rutz, he sits underneath. How much of a representation can you get on the width? All in transitional play because the back three are stellar with Nate the Great in goal tonight.
Perhaps it shouldn't be a surprise that Antoine Opano is standing over the ball. The former Lou City star will get underway on this Wednesday night. Mike Watts, Devin Kerr, it is a fascinating situation here for Detroit. You're only 1 point off a home playoff game. And while they've managed to get good results on the road, I think no one, Devin, would doubt there may be no better home field advantage than Keyworth Stadium in the league over the last 4 months.
The only argument that I would have made, and it would have been earlier on this season, would have been Colorado Springs at Widener because of how well they were playing and altitude. That's obviously not the case anymore.
Mushagalusa into the final third. Tried to whip that across. He was denied by Matty Lewis. Bone. That cleared, kept alive. Drops down to Harris. Lost the handle. Mushagalusa once more. Bone. Corbin Bone unleashing. Bone returning from a disco suspension. The disciplinary committee getting involved after the kerfuffle between Louisville and Memphis. The end of that game here a week ago. But whether it's altitude or go ask some of the opposition that Detroit has played about the smell, the smoke, and the lighting, but really it's the fans. And certainly the pitch just a little bit different than you might see elsewhere. It is a extraordinary venue to have to go try and get a win. I don't want to be the opponent that has to go there round one.
No, the best analogy that I've heard so far was the game back on August 20th, and it came from Danny Cruz, and he said, Dev, you know, the majority of your career was in the lower divisions in European football. Tell me it doesn't remind you of some of those stadiums. And I said, you're spot on. It's the concrete, it's the weather, the fans, they're right there on top of you. There's an emotion that's almost unprecedented for this Detroit City squad. But again, that's when they're at home. And the key issue earlier this season was, could you compete against the big boys? They struggled a little bit. They've certainly worked their way back in. And now could they do it on the road? They've done that as well. The victory at Colorado Springs, they had to weather a ton of rotation and a lot of attacking prowess coming the way from the switchbacks. But they were able to weather that storm, and then they were magnificent against the Tampa Bay Rowdies.
Dia did well to find Mushagalusa. Trying to put Lewis in the mixer. Rodriguez, that's a goal kick. take a look at the weather report. It's presented by Advanced ENT and Allergy. It is clear, no wind, no chance of rain. Temps in the low 70s at kickoff. Couldn't really ask for much better tonight. Steinwasser drives it away. He's got a cool 12 clean sheets this year.
Just cruising right along. Steinwasser with everything that he's been able to do. Tied for third in the league next to Connor Sparrow. Some quality company around him, just behind Kyle Morton from Louis City on the club record 13. And then, of course, Jordan Farr, who just tied the single season record, individual-wise anyway, for shutouts in a season. Maxime Crépeau set that by Ottawa in 2018. He's got 2 more games to hold that record by his lonesome. It is interesting, though, Mike, when you look at Louisville, you know, we talked about Detroit already. For Louisville, as much as they've been able to do in terms of records, and we talked about that in the open and what is within their grasp, it doesn't feel like the greatest of momentum as they hit the end of the postseason like we've seen in seasons past, right?
No. Turned over. Reese Williams turned away from Maxi Rodriguez. Covered by Lewis. And now Steve Carroll. I mean, more often than not, it feels like Louisville goes into the postseason on 10, 12, 14
unbeatable. That's right.
Yeah.
And outside of San Antonio, we really haven't seen that from anybody. And of course, Detroit City can certainly throw their name into the next 7 unbeaten.
Only 1 loss in the last 10, and that was at Keyworth to Louis City. Carroll trying to push away Harris. Good chance for us to take a look at tonight's keys to the game. They're brought to you by the Bobby Pinkston team at RE/MAX Premier Properties. Score the home of your dreams with the Pinkston team.
5 minutes in, we've already seen all 3. It's rotation for Louis City, challenging the actual shape overall for Detroit City. They're great in one-on-one defending and as a group, but as they have to step out of their comfort zone, sometimes it's lost in translation. But as you rotate for Louisville, that opens yourself up to these transitional movements from Detroit City.
Well, there it is. Got over Sharpie. Matthews. Whiskers wide of the outstretched hand of Kyle Morton, and Matthews has been a real shot in the arm for this group.
Well, the second part of that argument for keys to the game is high and wide, because as they start to move from one end to the other, notice high up on the pitch, Openo, and wide as well. It stretched the back line for Louis City. The way that they attack with their 2 outside backs in sequence, both of them coming high, it leaves the 2 center backs exposed a lot. That means a lot of one-on-one situations for Openo and Z Matthews, messed up against Wes Sharpie and Sean Toast throughout the night.
Matthews spent most of the early stage this year trying to get his visa situation handled, and as a result wasn't signed to the squad until August 13th. Though he is precisely what Detroit City needed. Ball driven away by Williams. Sprayed through for Hopeno. This is a all too familiar sight for Louis City fans. I didn't mean offside, but maybe that too. Hopeno's had a nice season.
He's done very well for himself, and it is because of that shape. That's the thing about Trevor James, is sometimes the tactics aren't exactly mastermind compared to some of the movement that we saw him deploy within Nisa, but they are so well executed, and one of which is Antoine Openo within that wide position, finding a way to get the ball out in front of him, space to run into, attackers in support.
So Piccolo took it back, and this shot is wide. Serrano. Not a bad idea from Ray Serrano, looking for goal number 4 this year.
How's the turn by Paolo Del Piccolo, though? Right to the inside. Thanks for coming. Little switch back across. It's smartly. He actually peels to the interior. Wilson Harris was able to combine with him first time, but off the deflection falls right for Ray Serrano. This is an area that he loves to operate within. Down underneath Wilson Harris, he's oh so comfortable in the central locations. Got to be careful with that, though, because if Manny Perez is stuck defensively, Ray Serrano's still got to have himself a high and wide position as well to make sure he's able to challenge the likes of Declan Wynn and Michael Bryant.
You know, we're getting to that point now of the season where some of these young players that came in, Harris obviously comes to mind, Serrano, Mushagalusa, really the front three on this occasion. This is the first time they've had to play on a team where the only outcome that matters on the field is winning. And sure, their development is part of that, but we're sort of at a point now, 32 games in. How do you feel Serrano has progressed over the course of this year?
Very well. He's done very well for himself because developmentally, to your point, Mike, when you're given the luxury of repetitions day in and day out and there's no consequences for a poor performance.
Ball across, grabbed by Morton, as was the case at Tacoma.
Bingo. And of course, for the other two boys, Mushagalusa and Wilson Harris within the Sporting Kansas City organization, mentally, it does something to you. You get comfortable. You don't have as much drive. You don't challenge yourself as much because you know that you're going to have that freedom to step on the pitch no matter what. So instead, there's always a withholding within your game when you are put up to the task of not just having to find a way to win, Mike, but competing with guys like Cameron Lancaster, Brian Ownby, finding a way to not only be in the starting 11, but in this Louisville team, find a way to get yourself onto the bench. That's where developmentally you see these guys continue to take massive strides, specifically for Ray Serrano. He's always good down in the pocket underneath. His ability to stretch the game on that right-hand side in combination play and transition as well. Getting the ball out in front of him and attacking in one-on-one situations is really where we've seen a tremendous amount of growth.
Header speared away. It's Danny Cruz who's had to spearhead, bring along some of these young players. The Winder brothers, the new inclusions. Harris lays it off, Serrano. Out to Perez. Perez challenging. Reverts back, Wynn went stride for stride. The USL Championship's mid-season fan choice Defender of the Year. Ball whipped across for Mushagalusa. Still for Dia. Del Piccolo. Commonwealth Credit Union has been bettering lives in the communities they serve since 1951. To learn more, visit WeSeeYouDifferently.com. Laid off to Dia. Cutback. Del Piccolo. That lands on Scouse's house's roof.
Here's the rotation at its best for Lou City. Tyler Gibson rotates back out. This is Sean Tosh, who can also play the sixes. He comes up in. Watch the vision. There's patience, but there's an execution level at a high rapidity of rate. The overlapping run from Amadou Dia we've seen all too frequently to the tune of 7 assists in this late trailing run, which has really been the bread and butter for Lou City for a couple of seasons now. Yes, Paolo Del Piccolo certainly leans back and doesn't get the best of the ball, but that is some really clean stuff from the home squad.
Mushagalusa on the attack again. Got up and pinged off of Williams. Mushagalusa made that forward. Del Piccolo, Bone, Win. Perez. Strong start for Louisville City on the attacking end. They haven't quite made Steinwasser sweat. Mushagalusa again. Rodriguez. Bounced off Perez, held off Opino. Advantage played. Dia. Mushagalusa once more. Cutting it in front, back heel! Offside! Harris, it won't count. It was a wonderful finish, but it's not meant to be. Rightly deemed offside.
It's like they're playing with cones, but here's the problem that you have to deal with. It's a great job by the back line. The ball there. Watch the little step up on the outside. Now they get a little lucky. Lewis, Carroll, and Bryant all come high. Reese Williams got to be real careful. He's very, very fortunate that Mushagalusa leans into this thing. He's got to keep his head on a swivel because the back three saw the run coming. Williams did not.
Holpino. Williams. Can he break through? He was broken down.
It's a little 2v1. Watch the split. Atoning for his sins. Nice little cutback across by Reese Williams. A little surprised that Amadou Dia tries to stand his ground there when he's got support over the right shoulder. And just watch this team. I talk about transitions. They're just as deadly from dead ball situations. They've got the height. You can attack either one of the posts. They get clever sometimes as well. A little cutback across. Interchange, top of the box. Pick your poison.
Holpino floats that up, header to the near side post. And that's away. Not a bad idea for Connor Rutz. Notably behind the goal tonight, there is no groove machine. Well, the groove machine are there, but the drums are not. Perhaps another way to describe that is on a night where the heart seems to be out of the building a little bit, the heartbeat is missing as well. Ball touch to the far touchline, maintained by Detroit. The Northern Guard is also standing on the Estopanol end, notably tonight as well. An uncommon occurrence. Standing in unison this evening. Typically they're in the upper left corner of the upper deck. Ball kicked away from Mushagalusa. You know, Dev, I can't help but think, when you look at this Detroit City side, they've never lost back-to-back. It's almost impossible to really get their goat more than once or twice. Ball ahead to Harris. These sides met in the Open Cup, tightly contested 1-1 penalties. They meet again about 2 months ago at Keyworth. And to say that it was a controversial game might be putting it lightly.
That's one way to look at it, sure.
I believe a red card was rescinded from that game. There was a penalty to Sean Tosh. The replays were a little more conclusive, perhaps, than initially acknowledged.
I just think about it as you put yourself in the player's perspective, and is it there in your memory? Absolutely. But when you look at the game overall, there's just so much more ambition than what's happened in the past for these guys because of the fact that there's so much riding on the future. You think about the standings within the Eastern Conference tonight. Louisville, the opportunity to lock down the #1 overall. Well, guess what? 901 FC in Memphis just right around the corner, knocking on their heels because of the fact that 30 minutes from now, they'll be challenging for that #1 overall spot, and Detroit City won a top 4.
Holpino for Rutz, sliding in Perez, and it leaks to Morton. Trevor James said you're not going to score a lot of goals standing at the edge of the center circle. He's implored Rutz and Rodriguez to get forward.
As you play a high line for Lou City, you have to be very careful because this is what you're going to see all night long. They are so good at it as well. Wes Sharpie overcommits here. Not often that you're going to win a foot race against Antoine Opino, except when he's got the ball at his feet trying to pick somebody out. It's a great back post run and a beautiful ball played back across. Well read by Kyle Morton.
Ball whipped around by Del Piccolo, but play had already been stopped. Let's tell you that this portion of tonight's game brought to you by Toyota. Let's go places. Seeking Williams. Escaped the line. You mentioned the seeding implications of this game. The USL Championship does have another match this evening.
2 more. Just one in the East, though.
New Mexico, LA, and El Paso, Colorado Springs are out west. Memphis plays RGV. That game kicks off in about 10 minutes' time. Game also airing on ESPN+. If Memphis drops points and Louisville wins tonight, they're the 1 seed. If Detroit wins, They move into the 4th spot, awaiting Birmingham's upcoming game on the weekend.
And remember, you and I have seen this league at this time of the year so many times before. A lot of times you'll hear from fans and from coaches talking about games in hand and an opportunity to chase somebody down. You don't want that.
Long run, Rutz. Slide in by Perez.
The last 5 letters of the word history are story for a reason, and we've seen that story before. It's because teams don't like to chase. They struggle when you've got a couple of games left, so an excellent opportunity for Detroit City to apply a bit more pressure. More than likely, the number 3 out of reach because of the fact that the Rowdies do have points and games in hand, and that's a different argument than just games in hand.
Well, and who they're playing is relevant as well.
In theory, it's 6 foregone conclusions into the back pocket of points.
Correct.
All due respect to Red Bull 2.
Red Bull 2 finishes with Memphis and Tampa Bay. On Sirius XM this week, we contemplated whether they would be able to avoid getting the wooden spoon. They needed 2 wins to do that. I think they're going to go out with a whimper. Harris continuing to chase after this.
Here's the biggest difference you'll see from Lou City compared to Detroit. With Lou City, you know, every game that they play in, and any opponent will tell you, whether home or away, opening 15, 20 minutes, very difficult because the press is relentless, the pressure is nonstop, and it's 100 miles an hour. Then they hit this mark where they see tactically, are there any tweaks that you've put forth compared to what they watched in film session? They try and break it down, and they will make adjustments. Detroit City, they're not going to stop. Detroit City is going to give you, for the most part, the same look, outside of a few personnel tweaks, that you get in the first minute as you will in the 90th minute. And so complacency is where teams get themselves into trouble against this Detroit City squad. They back off for a little bit. They think, oh, he's not going to make that run, or he's not going to challenge that ball. That's when you get in trouble, and that's when they make you pay.
Is that a game of cat and mouse in Butchertown?
Yeah, sort of. Something like that.
It's a 5-5 corner kick.
5-5 corner coming here for Louisville City. Let's see what Louisville can produce off a set piece. Serrano. Toe's trying to strengthen what everyone in Louisville seems to feel is a compelling MVP case. The diving header to the near post. That ball lobbed over the top. Morton's out there, and he shifts it away from Holpino, who's cherry picking at the halfway line.
Check the numbers, though, and look at the outside run.
Rutz. There is that outside run. The return to Holpino. And it's snuffed out. Matthews retains. Win. This blasted from distance over the bar. What a smack from Jope.
They reset their line so quickly, Detroit City, that even when they don't get their initial look, because this ball should have been right out in front when it comes back across to Openo, instead the ball's back behind. It's unfortunate. You don't necessarily see that too frequently from Declan Wynn, but I like the recovery because, look, they hold possession, they stay high, nobody steps to the trailing run. Because Rutz and Rodriguez have already come, they're seeing those two attacking options, and so defensively you retreat to your top of the 18. You forget about Jope coming late into the picture, and he can strike it with the best of them when he wants to.
Tosh. You and I had Mitchell Tainer from San Antonio on this week, and he spoke about Tosh does have a pretty good goal celebration.
He was a little jealous, wasn't he?
Yeah, tucked in, locked in.
He even did it. On radio, he showed us.
Yeah, he did.
He's like, hey, buddy, no offense, man. Mitch, we love you, buddy, but no one's going to see this video.
Well, then you turned around and put out video from that show, which is a whole different deal.
You know, eventually it comes out. Eventually.
That one did, yeah.
It's sitting in the archives.
Harris caroms off of Reese Williams' corner for Louisville City.
Two of the youngsters from Sporting KC. Shigalusa and Wilson Harris, who have certainly found themselves a home here in Louisville. Fan favorites easily as the season has gone on. Of course, it never hurts if you're Wilson Harris and have 14 goals to your name. Not to be undone by the double digits of Galusa at 10.
Ball across is denied from the near post, seeking from Serrano. Header from Del Piccolo gets out. Gibson got up to try and meet that. He also returns from suspension. And Maxi Rodriguez lets this out. Williams tosses in. Pride of White Plains in New York. The old Westchester County. Rutz. Rodriguez for Holpino. They've certainly tried to spread that back line out and put it in between the center back and Perez. Galusa has moved off to the right-hand side of late, and that's going to roll all the way to Steinwasser. Tonight's trivia brought to you by Tony's Break in Alignment. Let's take a quick peek. Goalkeeper's got the ball. Goalkeeper was involved in a penalty shootout against Louisville City earlier this year. Which opponent has Louisville faced most often in penalties?
Red Bull 2.
You sure about that?
Pretty sure.
100% sure.
No, because I know there's some Open Cup history prior to this year between Louisville and Detroit City, but I don't remember the result. Yeah. St. Louis City FC is only once, and it's this year. And I'm pretty sure Red Bull is more than once.
Yeah.
So I'm going with Red Bull 2.
Well, Louisville only played St. Louis City once, so they play them the second time, yeah.
Yeah. Speaking of, shout out to John Hackworth. A little love for the guy.
MLS Next Pro final.
He's in the final.
Although when that game is being played has been a little unfortunate. Yeah. No, there's a time.
No,
it's just not the time that St. Louis fans expected.
Good ball.
Ball for Holpino. Recovered by Morton. Galusa. Oh, the return from Harris. Galusa.
What made this even more difficult was the start of the run because it came from your 6 and Tyler Gibson. He pops out, and the good news is the space in behind is vacated. The bad news for Detroit City is it's by Corbin Bone. The best in combination finds the little 1-2, and then Wilson Harris returns the favor to Galusa. One-on-one situation like this, you're not going to get many an opportunity better to face the accountant and Nate Steinwasser. Got to hit the frame there.
Galusa on the run again. Floats early for Serrano, who was trying to scissor kick that home. Never got to him. Dia. Harris. Clearly a pass. Galusa works on Wynn. Galusa right at the aforementioned accountant. I don't know if that movie hadn't existed yet. Would it be quite as cool to call Nate Steinwasser the accountant? I don't know, but it does now fit the bill. figuratively and literally. As far as Ben Affleck movies go, it's definitely in his top 5. I don't know. Opino feels like he can't catch a break tonight. A little bit of contact there from Carroll. Harris went down like a half ton of bricks.
What's interesting in the attack for Detroit City is Reese Williams has come so deep on this right-hand side that actually Rodriguez is pitching it over, understandably, but everything attacking-wise in the build is one-dimensional. Because of the way that they're defending, they're dropping down heavy on the right. Leaves them a little bit exposed on the left. They don't have the same balance we've seen in previous games. Like I mentioned coming in that they were magnificent against the Tampa Bay Rowdies. It was because of that equilibrium. Every portion of the field, every second, minute of the game, balls forward and back. They were perfect with their positioning. A little bit off right now, but good news for them is they haven't conceded. Try and find a way to push yourself back into this. They're so good at the positional battles vertically. Now they got to find it in the width as well.
Serrano stabbed at by Wynn. You know, Dev, what really intrigued me coming into this game is that Louisville changed their entire formation against RGV. Del Piccolo. And, you know, I asked Danny Cruz, was that a tactical decision or was that a personnel decision with the number of players you were missing? And he said it's the high 3 ball across is quaffed away by Detroit. High 3 players that really never get back for RGV that they were most concerned about. They felt the 3 would successfully attack that. They felt it worked, but it did mean that they were going to turn around and keep it here against Detroit just because it worked last time out.
It's funny how when you have 3 guys that just stand up top, you want to retreat one of your defenders to help out a little bit,
Shocker.
right? But no, I gave him credit because he also talked about the fact that if it hadn't been going their way, he'd be the first one on the sideline to wave the white flag and say, guys, I got this wrong. Let's go back. But you also walk a fine line there because you have to make a decision early on in the week when you don't have a midweek match if you're going to employ a different shape to attack that.
Del Piccolo. It's a good seeking ball for Harris, and Steinwasser scoops it.
It's video prep, it's teaching, it's scouting, the way that your trainings walk through, your virtuals. You're given assignments, and that's not just with players, it's with locations on the field, so that if they shift this way, this is how we're going to line up, but this is how we're going to move. And if someone steps out of that, where does the recovery come from? The recoveries are easily understood when you're so used to playing a certain way. It's a tendency, right? If the overlapping run comes from Manny Perez, if Ray Serrano's not involved, he's going to sit, or Tyler Gibson will pinch out there. When you've only got 3 and you're not attacking in the same fashion, you got to find a way to defend on the recovery side of things. And they did a very good job of maintaining their ground and holding it because, to be fair, not only is that a difficult team, most people in this league, coaches or players, will tell you that is the most difficult place to travel to in Edinburgh, Texas.
Ball forward from Dia. Rolled over to Mushagalusa. That bounced off of him. Great work by the proud Fordham alum, Matt Lewis. By the way, one thing that I thought was interesting, I said, at what point do you bring the players into that collaboration process of going to a 3? Is it before or after you say, okay, we're doing it? You talk to Del Piccolo, or if now McCabe are available, the vet players. Danny Cruz said, no, that's me and my staff. I didn't sleep about it on, was it Monday night before coming to training on, maybe it was a Monday night day training. The bar from Matthews, and out the other side. If it weren't for bad luck, no luck at all for Matthews. And a card in transition the other way. Wynn got booked.
You see Matthews really unlucky as Reese Williams finally gets himself high in this attack. Love him in this one-on-one situation. Watch the change of pace and direction. He commits to the move. Little hip check as he comes back across to his right. He's got the space, but now you've got to find the runner. This can only go one place because you've got a 2v1 on the back post. It's perfect defending by Lou City on the second run, but they leave the window open on the front. Almost get the go-ahead, and the tactical earns a yellow for Declan Wynn.
Yellow card presented by World of Beer. Rodriguez for Matthews again. Trying to get by Dia, cuts it inside. Matthews this time. Rebounds off of Morton, gets cleared off the doorstep. Detroit City's two best chances back-to-back, and now Lou City trying to break out the other way.
Card.
That's a foul and a card and an injury. Oh, Steve Carroll is grabbing at his right hamstring, back of his leg. Came up lame, and there is no player maybe that Detroit can ill afford to lose less at this stage. This has any true severity.
If I'm picking one, he's certainly the one that I want at the bottom of the list. God forbid anything was coming from an injury. Amadou Dia's got to be smarter here. There's a size advantage. Speed is just fine, but right there, that's a 50-50 against D. Matthews that you're going to have trouble winning because of the physical prowess he has at his disposal. Good little push off there. No issues with it whatsoever. Morton's got to be better on the save. He spills it out front. On the transitional move here, he's already beaten him once, which is what you don't see, as Wilson Harris had already turned him on the recovery. The argument is that there's not enough in it. Referee just brandished one on the other side for something quite similar. But the worst of it is going to be if Stephen Carroll actually picks up an injury here. He is irreplaceable within this team.
So he's being attended to, and this would be the definition of insult to injury for Carroll. He's got a World of Beer yellow card, and all the while, Evelyn Jope remains facing the ill effects of an injury on the other end that the athletic trainer came out to look at. Let's get you caught up on what's going on between Memphis and RGV. A reminder, drop points by Memphis plus a Louisville win equals the #1 seed solidified.
That's Aaron Malloy, who some people have touted as a dark horse for MVP, but guess what? Jeremy Kelly, what a pickup that has been for 901 FC. Cut back across on the unfavored right foot. Whips this across his body. That's a heck of a recovery in traffic as well. They certainly haven't let off the gasoline, have they?
No, second minute, Memphis 1, Rio Grande Valley 0. Memphis will play on Sunday afternoon against New York Red Bulls 2 at AutoZone Park. Mushagalusa. That's a goal kick.
It's easy to get lost of the result for 901 FC compared to Louisville. Remember, the Tampa Bay Rowdies are sitting at home watching that as well because they were within 3 at the start of the night. 901 FC gets a result all of a sudden. You're 6 points. You're 6 points back, and that game in hand doesn't look so glorious because now you're 2 in the final 3 remaining that you have to convert just to get even.
Just to get even. Head-to-head goal difference. And then you get into record against in-conference opponents. So bless the operations staff at USL headquarters that's going to have to crunch all those numbers.
#1 topic at the winter meetings for me is going to go straight to a coin flip.
Yeah, all right.
Still haven't gotten a confirmed invite to that, but I'm working on it. I figure with everybody in this room, PowerPoint presentation, why not?
Well, there's an injury here, and they're going to go back and look. I think it's Carroll who's down again. And this could be the end of the line for him. This is a Detroit team that coming into the year, you knew there was talent there. You knew that their home field advantage would be significant, but you also knew that there was some depth issues. While they've addressed that a little bit as the year has gone along, Mackie Jope came in. He's since been injured. You added Goddard. Matthews returned to the team after dealing with visa issues. It's still a little bit depth lacking. Matt Lewis missed some time at center back with a foot injury. Carroll's one of those guys that we mentioned a moment ago that Yeah, you can bring in Carl Ouimet, but it's not Steve Carroll.
Well, and my question would be is if you make the move with Carl Ouimet, which looks like their direction they're going to go, that means Michael Bryant will slide himself to the inside. The other way you could go, which right now Trevor James obviously doesn't want to because you lose a little bit of the representation on the left. More importantly, it's because of the inability to go the distance, most likely, is you do have Richard Foster in that experience. At 37 years of age, played at an extremely high level. You could always drop Michael Bryant into the center back spot, bring Declan Wynn onto the back line, and throw Foster out on the left-hand side. Again, not so sure that he's got that much in the tank right now with just a month under his belt within this team. About a month and a half, actually. More so late game dramatics. And again, you're not just looking at the rest of this game. This is what does it look like down the line and the possibility for the rest of the season. And what many a player would tell you, the fans, the organization, to be one of the best that's ever worn the jersey for Detroit City.
Well, Carroll was Nice's Golden Ball winner in 2020, and he's actually walking down the tunnel toward the training table. Carl Ouimet has entered here for Detroit, returning from an excused absence last week. And boy, are they excited to get him back in. And boy, in hindsight, how necessary it was to get him back in. Ball ahead for Perez. Win.
A little surprised here that they're keeping him at the center of the back line and not bringing Michael Bryant over. Remember, with Stephen Carroll getting married earlier this year, the injury to Matt Lewis, Michael Bryant was the one who shored up that spot. He stepped right into the middle. So to stick with Ouimet, he's had some trouble there all by his lonesome. You're out on the outside and you've got the coverage from someone like Declan Wynn. We've seen some success, Same thing with his time under Martin Rennie and Mark Lowry at Indy 11.
Hey, let's give you an answer on our trivia. It's presented by Tony's Break and Alignment. Most penalty shootouts against Louisville City all time. Detroit, New York, and St. Louis, the only three teams to reach penalties against Lou City.
Trick question.
It was a trick question. Detroit in the Open Cup
the other one.
2015.
I knew they played. I just didn't know how far it went, and that's on me.
Yep.
Hey, look, you can't always be perfect, right? Who knew?
No.
You haven't stumped me in a while. That's a good one.
Well, I mean, again,
we also haven't called the game in this better portion of 2 months.
Missed you too. Scoreless here, 41st minute. Ball gets over the top of Bryant. And Serrano seeking Musha Galusa. Steinwasher. Sharpie. Ouimet. Morton has to leave his penalty area. Tosh. Ahead to Holpino. Holpino! He's done it against his former team. He's shocked Lynn Family Stadium. He's put Detroit ahead. Number 7 on the year for Antoine Holpino.
Even when you know what the scout is and where the focal points are going to be, it's still very difficult to execute when you're moving in transition and everything's downhill. Look how quick Michael Bryant fights Declan Wynn, and they're off to the races. Wes Sharpie stops and hesitates. It's a no-no. Sean Tosh keeps him on the top of it and the bottom of the screen as well. You cannot stop in this situation. Hand up as you run, you want to have a shout, fine. But that hesitancy provides the opening, which gives the glory to the visitors just inside halftime whistle.
Well choreographed, top to bottom, celebration and goal. Louisville trying to respond. Musha Galusa crossing for Harris. Corner. By the way, 7th assist of the year for Declan Wynn on Holpeno's 7th goal in the 42nd minute.
Quickly they go into end. Lose a little cut back across. This is where he's gotten better. The outside cutting back in, having the favor 1 foot, willingness to slow it down and pick out the late run.
5-5 corner, Steinwasser. Mission accomplished. Sent over the top. Settled. Sharpie still dealing with Matthews. Jope. Ball through. Laid across for Rutz. It's in the net. It won't count. It was offside on the pass forward to Holpeno. Hey, let's tell you, don't miss your opportunity to cheer on the boys in purple at Lynn Family Stadium next season. Lou City 2023 season tickets on sale now. LouCity.com/tickets. Through from Dia. Offside. Harris will leave that for Steinwasser. Baptist Health is the proud partner and exclusive provider of medical support and athletic training services to Louisville City FC and Racing Louisville FC. Visit baptisthealth.com/ortho to learn more. Hangs up there, pulled down by Morton. That's sort of the description you gave us before this game started, Devin. Louisville wave after wave, Mushagalusa getting forward, and then bam, Detroit leads at halftime. And they're so hard to break down. Stoppage time is presented by Louisville Muhammad Ali International Airport. 3 added minutes to the first 45.
Remember, there's no right or wrong on how to play this game, right? There's no diagram that says this is to perfection how to go and win. There's different styles and fun ways to go about your business. With Lou City, as they commit the outside, I'm surprised that's not a foul.
Well, Louisville's undeterred by the surprise. Bone knocks it wide up to Harris. Harris, that deflects. Gibson for Mushagalusa, ahead for Dia. Gibson's a long way from home. Mushagalusa, Del Piccolo, header from Dia. He was offside.
There's a gambling side of this game. You think about it, if you're willing to jump with both outside backs, and even just one, right? Possessions on the right-hand side favoring both teams. It's compressed. Manny Perez comes high. What's that going to do? Well, it's going to provide space in behind. Now, the idea being behind that, sure, Sean Tosh can rotate over and try and close things down, but then it becomes a domino effect where if he goes, now there's more space in between he and Wes Sharpie. Sharpie's got space in behind him as he slides over. Dia's got to now find coverage. If it's all not working in perfect sequential order, you get yourself into trouble. That's where Detroit has been much better as the game has gone on. Their balance has come back as well, Mike. Everything at the start of this game was about the right-hand flank, finding a way to build through the right. Where did the goal come from? The right, but more importantly, from Reese Williams high, right? He was so deep defensively. They've gotten him involved. All of a sudden, Maxi Rodriguez, Abdoulaye Diop have done a better job. They've gotten involved in the attacking midfielding locations as opposed to just keeping the game in front of them, trying to find a way to lock down these defensive spots that Lou City are starting to aggress at. And then Declan Wynn. Think about how many times at the latter portion of this first half, we've seen it come off the back line into Wynn, and he's found either Open or Matthews on a diagonal run down into the corner. We didn't see that in the opening 15 or 20 minutes.
Dia. Gibson. Heard the shout from the sideline. Maybe half a minute left in this first half. Tosh. Perez. Steinwasser knocks it down. Rumor has it at halftime, you and I are going to chat a little bit about the playoff picture. The playoffs this year presented by Hisense. And there's the halftime whistle. He made the final catch. He has the only goal. Antoine Hopino in his return to Louisville with a 1-0 lead on his back in the 42nd minute.
The great thing about this is as the game has gone on, not only have we seen them become more of the aggressor in Detroit City, they've provided themselves the better opportunities in front of goal. So you can have 60% of the possession, but taking a page out of San Antonio's book, Detroit done a great job, kept it in front of them. They've hit the target 50% of the time, 3 shots out of 6, as opposed to only 1 for Lou City to hit the 8x8. They've got to find a way to provide more quality chances come the final third in the second half.
1-0 lead for Detroit, and right now they'd be above that 4th position line and in position to host a home playoff game. Halftime presented by ServPro when we return.
Keep going. Keep working. Keep climbing. And always keep playing. With the unmatched orthopedic care at Baptist Health. With a best-in-class team, along with services and procedures you won't find anywhere else in the region. It's no wonder most people choose us to help them keep moving and doing the things that move them. Find a Baptist Health provider today.
We've got exciting news.
Commonwealth Credit Union has been ranked best in-state credit union by Forbes magazine.
For the 4th time. It's true.
In fact, we're #1 on the list this year.
So, if you've never tried Commonwealth Credit Union before,
come see what you've been missing. Because here,
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 Here, we see you differently.
So as someone that's loved meteorology my whole life, it's basically I've always been interested in the kind of look up part of Earth and what surrounds it. I was a storm chaser many years ago in college. Unbelievable! I love scuba diving, and then it got to the point where I, took the leap and jumped into astrophotography. Now, what's the kind of constant in there? It's a camera. I feel like it's that creative outlet for me. I think that's the craziest thing about this hobby is you just are constantly blown away. Everything you target, but there's really fulfilling when you get done and you see this thing that's sitting in space or another galaxy that has 1 billion stars in it. I find weather in particular so incredibly fascinating. And I love that every night that I can kind of share a little bit about what I love.
With the Kroger Plus card, it's easy to get lower than low prices for the win. You also earn fuel points on every purchase to save big at the pump. The Kroger Plus card, all you do is win big, big savings. Kroger, fresh for everyone. With the Kroger app, no matter where you order free pickup, you get the same great deals as you get in our stores. So start your cart today. Kroger, fresh for everyone.
The halftime score is brought to you by ServPro, the official cleanup and restoration partner of Louisville City FC. Look at the bridge here in Butchertown. Detroit City has crossed over into Kentucky and grabbed a 1-0 lead at the intermission. 42nd minute from Hopino. Mike Devin, here we go. The USL Championship playoffs begin on the 22nd of October, and they are presented by Hisense. As it stands right now, Louisville will get a first-round bye, take the first week off. I see a lot of upsets in the making here.
Well, remember, this is coming into the night. 901 FC jumps onto 64. Of course, Detroit City's going to throw their name in the hat and virtually move up into a top 4 spot. But the thing you want to keep an eye on are a couple things. Number one, nobody's spot is set. We told you coming in 7 teams, 7 different opportunities to either raise or lower yourself. You can take that with the good or the bad. Lou City trying to finish atop the Eastern Conference once again. They would love to have home field, but I still look at Detroit. Can they jump into a top 4? Birmingham Legion have made it a key point of emphasis since day one. They won a home playoff game. They were, you don't want to say robbed. There was a COVID issue with Pittsburgh Riverhounds last year. They lost that opportunity is what we will say. It is vitally important to them. And yet, Miami FC, they can jump up in there. There's so much left to play for as opposed to the West. But, Mike, I still look at the matchups right now, though, and what it could be. Remember, there's going to be a reseed after week 1. Lou City becomes one. The highest remaining seed, meaning the worst, quote-unquote. For instance, if Memphis beats Miami, Memphis goes to the 2. They're going to drop to the bottom. If Miami beats Memphis, Miami's going to play Lou City. So Lou City gets the luxury of almost picking its opponent. From there, we'll see how things start to play out. That would be an interesting possession game in 2-7. 3-6, I certainly would not want to be at that game. The way that you could slow it down in a defensive prowess between those two managers and the 4v5. Imagine if the 4v5 was in Detroit compared to if it was in Birmingham.
Night and day.
It's night and day, two very different. And again, there's so many different styles in the East this year compared to seasons past.
Meanwhile, here's the West. San Antonio, signed, sealed, delivered, and they've got a fake trophy to prove it. Everything else after San Diego looks murky, to say the least. I mean, it appears 2 and 3 are more or less settled. Sacramento could get in that mix. There's still 5 teams below the line in the hunt.
Think about the fact that not only are there 5 below in the hunt, but, Mike, there are 10 teams overall that haven't set a stone for themselves yet. So where exactly that fall in? Of course, the only team that has been eliminated is Orange County, our reigning champions. They were the first to go in the West, and they've got the Golden Boot winner. Who knew it? Sacramento Republic had been on an absolute tear leading into the Open Cup final. They've waxed and waned since then. Oakland Roots had all those games in hand, probably should have done better. The foregone conclusion that was Switchbacks earlier on this season, sitting at 3rd. They thought they could chase down 1st, maybe even 2nd. Now they're trying to hold on for their dear lives for a home playoff spot. Seems like they're going to be able to do that. And then we go to the matchups themselves. San Antonio FC, they transition better than anybody in the league because they don't care if they have the ball. If they do, you can have it, I can have it. We'll play hot potato. They find a way to win. The mentality monsters. El Paso Locomotive, the second half of the season. That's an interesting matchup to me because they can be an extremely possession-based team, but also transition. Loyal want the ball all the time. 3 and 6 would have a problem because it would be at altitude. Oakland love to go on the road, especially in the West, with their wingbacks and Azakar. The width would be an interesting matchup because of the way that Colorado Springs inverts. And then Sacramento Republic and New Mexico United. If New Mexico United can hold on to that 5 spot, they currently have 1 win in their remaining 10. The way that the overload comes for the midfield for Sacramento Republic, and they've found some luck at the 9, I'm not so sure United would be able to come out on top in that one.
All right, there's a look at the potential playoff scenarios, and yet it's all going to change by the time we get there. Halftime presented by ServPro, official cleaning and restoration partner of Lou City FC. Detroit 1, Louisville 0 at halftime. First half highlights. We return after these messages and a word from your local station.
I'm on that real team. I'm on that real team.
Goes topic features. I mean, yeah, let's talk about today where I'm gonna go topics.
Roll it down.
I am.
You don't need a car to listen to Sirius XM. You can listen anywhere. You know that, right?
What? Kevin Hart's Laugh Out Loud Radio.
Kevin, you could use your phone.
What? What?
Alexa, play Kevin Hart's Laugh Out Loud Radio on Sirius XM.
What? This is how I know you're getting old. I guess that was it. What?
Welcome to Tampa Bay. Here he comes. Cross scored. Fernandez. And the Rowdies are on the board.
And it's into the back of the net. El Paso waited for their moment.
For a corner and it's in. What
This new Toyota Tundra is amazing. It's rugged and capable.
Designed, engineered, and built right here in the USA.
And Tundra is more powerful and more fuel efficient.
The iForce Max hybrid powertrain delivers 437 horsepower.
And with the multi-terrain select, no matter what the conditions are, it automatically adjusts the engine throttle and traction.
While the crawl control modulates the throttle and brakes.
When we say you can go anywhere and do anything,
Tundra really means it.
Yeah.
Toyota. Let's go places.
Unbelievable! What a goal! What a moment! The ultimate upset when it mattered the most!
The USL Championship playoffs are presented by Hisense, and now they're just 2 weeks away. Confirmed good boy in the crowd tonight. Detroit 1, Louisville 0. Let's take a look at the news and notes around the league. Presented by Hisense. Race for the Eastern Conference. We talked about that ad nauseum. Same in the West. Matchup to watch right now on ESPN+. Memphis leads RGV 1-0. That's short of halftime. Larger scoreboard look out west. El Paso, Colorado Springs. Could be a first-round playoff matchup. They play at 9 o'clock Eastern time. Same with New Mexico and Galaxy clinging to their playoff hopes late in the season. Might as well take a look at the schedule coming up as well on Saturday. Loaded game schedule on ESPN Plus with Tampa Bay trying to pick up 3 valuable points against Loudoun, maybe catch up to the number 2 spot, RGV, and Phoenix. Phoenix could be eliminated this weekend. Vegas and Miami. Vegas trying to hang around, Miami trying to move up, and then Sunday, plenty of good action, including San Antonio, Birmingham, and Sacramento, Pittsburgh. All these games on ESPN+. Second half is on the way. Trevor James' side off and running. Harris's goal offside. Polpano's certainly not. Detroit and Louisville duking it out here in Kentucky tonight. Detroit 1, Louisville 0 at the half.
It all starts with a smile. To show you care, offer a sign of love, welcome someone home. Even when we don't see each other, or share a room, even without words, smiles bring us together. Let's keep yours healthy. Mortensen Family Dental. Schedule online at mortensondental.com.
It was awesome to see what it can really do.
That was the most intense experience I've ever had.
At a recent off-road event, real Toyota Tundra owners found out just how capable the new Tundra is.
I had no idea these could do what it did.
With 437 horsepower and available multi-terrain select and crawl control, Tundra can go anywhere and do anything. This truck was born for this.
I am probably a Tundra owner for life at this point. I'm very impressed.
The more you know, the more you'll drive Toyota. Let's go places.
Welcome to U of L Health Heart Hospital, an exciting chapter in the Jewish hospital story. If these walls could talk, you would hear stories of over 40 medical firsts. As the area's only heart hospital, we focus on comprehensive heart care, where academic research pioneers innovative treatments, and a world-class network of experts offers life-changing care. Here, your heart is in the right place.
When fire and water threaten your home, hand the cleanup over to the team that stays with you every step of the way in your journey back. 1-800-SERVPRO and servpro.com. Like it never even happened.
All right, let's take a look at first half highlights. Louisville and Detroit, major playoff implications starting the 13th minute. Louisville owned the first half hour or so of chances. Mushagalusa offside. Nice finish by Harris. It wouldn't count.
Everything else has been held perfectly. Wilson Harris slots himself in perfectly between the two center backs. The problem is Mushagalusa stutters. Reese Williams had gotten himself into trouble, but he repaid the favor on the far side. He got high involved in the attack. Then they found balance in the transitional moments, right and left. as you come off the back line. It's a massive mistake by Tosh. Sharpie, you can name anybody you want on the back line, and there are going to be changes coming. We'll tell you about that in a second. But here's the point of emphasis that I made, Mike, going into the dressing room. Doesn't matter how much you have the ball, where you have the ball. It's what you do with it. Detroit City certainly reigned supreme in the first half, and that 3 out of 6 were able to hit the target, only 1 for Lou City.
River City Flooring halftime stats. I'll show you the 60-40 split in possession. Winder enters at halftime for Louisville City, and we're off and running in the second half of play. Detroit 1, Louisville 0. With this current score line, Detroit would move into 4th in position to host a home playoff game. Louisville would maintain 1st, but Memphis would suddenly have a real chance to catch them here at the end of the year.
There's the tactical change that I talked about, though. You bring Winder on, you take Del Piccolo off. They struggled heavily down into the channels. All of a sudden, you add an extra defender in the mix. Danny Cruz is changing. He's going to move into a 3. You've got your wingbacks there. Of course, Wes Sharpie will, in theory, sit in between the two with Josh Winder on the left. Dia and Manny Perez will drop into the wingback spots. Gibson will drop under as Corbin Bone will still sit in a central location. Ray Serrano will help out there. It's just trying to find a way to keep the game in front of them when it breaks down as they move high. It was something they did very well against RGV. We don't see the look a lot, but it is something they train in frequently under Danny Cruz during midweek training sessions.
Roll back by Serrano. We were told this is the kind of change you make specifically based on tactics. It's what they've done here at the intermission. Harris rolls it forward. The offside flag is up. Taken by Detroit. And back to Steinwasser. Floated down the other way. That's going to find Morton. Louisville, club win record, club point record, club shutout record this year. Trying to secure the #1 seed. Tosh. Well, an intriguing change here for Detroit. It's just 3 minutes into the second half. Pato will replace Opino. He's got a stoic look and a bit of a grimace as he exits. Substitutions are brought to you by MHS Global.
He's feeling something. There's a little tweak within that grimace that something has gone awry just a couple of minutes out of the dressing room. You wonder if there was a conversation as he went in and said, you know, let's see if we can have a go of it. There's the man who put them out in front in the first half, former Lou City danger man himself, Antoine Opino.
Well, intriguingly, that's their second substitution moment because they had to bring Carroll off. So by utilizing those 3 minutes, ball forward, Mushagalusa won't get there. Steinwasser. Winder carries forward, seeking Mushagalusa. Ran out of room.
That's the most surprising thing to me. It's one thing to think, okay, coach, I think I might be able to have a go, but because you've already used one of your windows,
right?
Now you're down to one sub window for just 3 players with an entire half to go. And the depth that is usually available to this Lou City team, regardless of formation change, injuries, or not, you never want to leave yourself that exposed for that long, and especially with how well Trevor James adjusts as the game goes on.
Picked up by Serrano. Gibson. Watch out, Wynn pouring through the left side. And the recovery. Done in unenviable position there for Perez. Winder, Bone, scoops through. Foul from Tosh.
Smart too by Pato because he knows the pressure's coming as a striker. You learn this as a youngster. Just feel the momentum on your backside. You can already start the lean, and 99% of the time, referee's going to side with you.
Rodriguez took it away from Tosh. Swept ahead for Harris. Flipped the other way. You know, there is an element of the three-back does get three of, on a good day, your best players on the field at the same time in Sharpie, Winder, and Tosh. The personnel in a lot of ways makes a lot of sense, and then you've got Dia and Perez as wingbacks, which is a pretty natural position for them both.
I don't necessarily disagree with that. The problem is neither Tosh nor Wes Sharpie are certainly having a career night here.
No.
It's a smart response so far, especially on the left-hand side. As it's a real good look at Manny Perez. You're looking, wondering where his marker is. Well, he's about 10 yards to his right. He's just dropped off Declan Wynn. He and Michael Bryant in a 2v1 against Mushagalusa, just keeping the game in front of him. So by the time it rotates back over, he's got the opportunity. If the ball comes across the field in the air, Mike, you've got enough time to close it down. If it slowly comes on the ground in rotation, easy enough to come back over. And if it's whipped in on a cross, you can still challenge to Mushagalusa or drift back on the run to the back post.
Ball ahead, Bone onside. Perez was racing for it, and Wynn puts it out. Five corner to come. Deal swinging from this end. Del Piccolo had taken the corners from this side in the first half. He was subbed off. Dia, whistle blew way before that. And I see a card for dissent in Harris's future if he keeps that up. Pushed off. Well, to be fair, he and we met. There was a lot of hand fighting there.
Yeah,
watch the middle of your screen.
It's not cat and mouse. This is a sparring session on the back post. Drift over, grab the jersey. Watch the hands right there. He's literally holding him, and then as he pulls out of it,
a little rope-a-dope?
Yeah, I'm not necessarily sure I see it, to be honest. I mean, both were guilty. But if you're going to make an example, almost impossible to call a penalty in this situation, so of course you side with the defender.
Wynn floats it up. Matthews. Dale chase it down. Dev, you as a center back used to get away with that all the time.
Just saying, got to take care of the brethren.
Don't act like an angel.
No, I'm saying I get it.
Okay.
Trust me, I'm going to get away with whatever I can back there.
And you and we met are similarly structurally built.
Tall and confused.
You added the second adjective, not me.
Bingo. No, and the thing about it is you have to severely force the referee's hand in a situation like that for him to point to the spot.
On off ball like that?
You got to dig deep down into the vault to figure out a time where you saw a referee point to a spot on off the ball movement and a player going to the ground for him to call a penalty. He's going to let you go. And that's why I said that normally they're going to side with the defender in that situation.
Karam's down. It's going to clear out for a goal kick. New City missing a number of players here tonight. But Brian Ownby is in the building and pretty well dressed as well. Didn't take him for a leather man, but nevertheless, up in the box tonight, dealing with an injury. A number of injuries, Dev, being announced over the past week. Jorge appears to be done for the year, which is a major loss now. McCabe has been out now, announced out through the end of the year last week. So while Detroit has Steve Carroll to worry about tonight, Louisville's got about 3-4 of those guys that they're dealing with themselves right now.
They've had injuries all season long. And this is one of the teams where you get them healthy, make the argument for the best roster in the league, at least one of the top 3. And there's no disputing that whatsoever. Any manager, GM, player around the league will tell you the exact same thing. But it's also a testament to the continuation that has been for this storied organization since 2015. We know the accolades, we know the history. If you don't know, go look it up. But all jokes aside, you and I had this conversation at the beginning of the year when we talked about Birmingham Legion and the Tampa Bay Rowdies, where the organizations, specifically the Rowdies in this one, and now Louisville on the backside of it, where you've cemented yourself and you know what you're capable of. But how do you take what you've built, not reinvent it, add layers, and still find success without disrupting the overall product? That is the question for these teams every year.
Winder missed Serrano by about a yard. And Winder will keep this in through the pressure of Williams. Harris on the spin. Job. Got by Gibson too, and that back 3 is exposed. Tosh up to the task. Danny Cruz olaying his team forward to try and press in unison. Gets away from Wynn. If there's any good news for Danny Cruz, it's that Cam Lancaster got 3 minutes. It was unclear whether he was going to get any time at RGV, and you wonder if those are the discussions ongoing right now. They feel like maybe he can give 20 here today. Then Louisville, 10 days off. They'll face Hartford on the 15th. And if they do, in fact, seal up the #1 seed, they don't play again for another 7 days. They may only have just one game between now and the second round of the playoffs when they begin the postseason from tonight. Matthews pumping forward. As Wynn behind him instead flicks it across. Flex out to Bone. Harris swerves that forward. Rolled ahead. And across for Musha DeLusa. It's beyond his reach as well. Amadou Dia getting forward up that left side.
It's a really difficult ball, though, that he's trying to whip in here because of the amount of pace that he has to put on it, Mike. But with the players in front of him as well, as it gets swung out to the side, watch the run that's going to come right down through the middle to lock down Wilson Harris. So there's the one-on-one. Wilson Harris is gone. So as you come to the back post, this thing has to go the area route. You can't put it on the deck because of the recovery run by Michael Bryant. It's got to go up and over him. If you can get enough underneath it, you've still got to find a way from a pace standpoint to get it around him. That's where you'd like the ball to come all the way to the byline and then be cut back across.
Well, here's Pato leaning that back. Rodriguez, a heavy touch. Ahead for Mushagalusa. Able to get by Bryant. Leans it back. Harris. Harris!
We asked for higher quality chances here in the second half, and you're certainly getting them for Lou City. But for the former Young Player of the Year, Wilson Harris, you expect better. Great move by Mushagalusa. Told you this is where he's been better. It's that extra touch both ways, regardless of which side of the ball he's on. The cutback across, you don't need 3 here. You barely need 2. You want to take the 1, that's fine. But for the natural marksman, that is Wilson Harris. 1 touch, lace it to the bottom corner, hit it with your instep on the first one. 3 is company, and he sends up over the top.
Covered by Harris. Mushagalusa returns. Deflection right back to Harris! Wilson Harris! Lou City level! A voice cracker of the goal. On the year.
You go big picture first. When you go this wide, you stretch the shape. Look at the back post run that creates separation from Declan Wynn. Wynn comes away. That prohibits him from closing the space down on Wilson Harris. The ball out in front, 1v1 against Michael Bryant. It's a lucky deflection, absolutely. But if you're Bryant, step through the ball. It's a half-hearted challenge. You cannot give the luxury a second time around to Wilson Harris. You want to make the argument for a handball. It's a natural rotation. The arm is next to the torso. That's a difficult ask.
61st minute, Wilson Harris. Louisville on level terms. Goal presented by Kentucky Lottery, fueling imagination, funding education, the Kentucky Lottery. That is the 6th goal this year conceded by Nate Steinwasser from outside the area. The return, Mushagalusa turns, fires, corner. Let's see if we can get a better look at Louisville's equalizing moment.
Absolutely not. No, it's off the chest, first off. And even if, I told you, even if it came off the arm, it's a natural motion next to the body. It hits him in the chest. So that argument's gone. You feel unfortunate here if you're Michael Bryant, the way that the ball pounces up for him, but you got to step through him more cleanly.
Ball across, Winder! Winder scores! They've turned the whole thing around! Louisville City. His second this year. He's walked it off on penalties, and now he's scored that could move Louisville firmly into the #1 spot.
This was an area earlier this year where all the hype that surrounded him and what could be. In just a couple of weeks' time, he bagged 2. 1 from the spot, his first in the run of play against Birmingham Legion, an area of his game that just continues to grow. You're in traffic, you're outmatched from a height perspective, and yet still to rise in group, in the middle, in this moment for Josh Winder. Hats off, young man.
That goal presented by Kentucky Lottery, fueling imagination, funding education. The Kentucky Lottery. Sharpie, instead of a corner, it is a throw. It's last call for alcohol here at Lynn Family Stadium. Leaves Devin devastated. Louisville still partying. Flying forward, Mushagalusa. He has a go, Steinwasser. Critical save for Detroit.
Steinwasser. It's a little cute here. He's trying to catch this ball as he drifts through the near post. The city's getting everything they want with the change in formation, especially with these two working in tandem together. The idea with the wingbacks getting high is that you're going to have the two strikers match up against the two center backs, and you find a way in space to challenge one of the other three. The difference here is, as Amadou Dia goes, Harris and Mushagalusa right now are drifting to the same side. So they're playing off of each other. They're creating 3v1s and 3v2s, and numerically, it's impossible to recover if you're Detroit City.
5-5 corner, Dia delivers. Header away. Recollected Serrano. Appeal for a handball. Out to Matthews. Tosh. This ball gets out. Hey, take a look at this about 5 minutes ago as the appeal for a handball came from the bench. Watch the scoreboard in the background. Is they're appealing for a handball. The replay of the ball not hitting his hand is actually erring behind them. However, in this moment, 3 minutes later, you concede again. That's a clear inflection point in this game.
Absolutely, and you have to make sure here, it's the one area you got to be careful of if you're Detroit City. That run looked to be off. Absolutely, is the emotional side of it, because at home, it drives you.
Right.
I've also seen them on the road. It starts to phase their performances. I told you, got to be careful with the subs and the legs. You can't let the mental side of it get in the way as well, because they had been so good for so long in this game.
Your dream home is waiting for you with Fisher Homes. Discover a variety of floor plan styles and watch your design come to life. Visit FisherHomes.com to get started today. We'll return there from Bone. Mushagalusa charging in on Bryant once more. Mushagalusa curling. The Groove Machine is in imminent danger tonight. And an injury, Maxi Rodriguez is down back behind the play.
Rodriguez is frustrated with the no call from the referee, but I thought this was Z Matthews who he collided with his own player. That's the argument right there. He's got a little saying for himself for sure. Now the contact is with Z Matthews, but I will say that Tyler Gibson gets away with one on the hip check down underneath, a little bit of a bridge. And I mentioned to you in the first half, the differentiation in Mushagalusa's game because it's right and left now. Last year was just one side with Sporting. He was on the left. It was up and down the entire time. But I feel for Maxi Rodriguez here because that little hip check does cause the contact overall. You can't come up underneath the player. You can go shoulder to shoulder for sure, and that's the argument from him. But the hip check, especially as you're moving one way, Mike, as you start to rotate in a direction, if a player comes up underneath you, that's an absolute no-no. It's right in front of the referee, too. I feel for Maxi Rodriguez.
Again, sort of pushed to the ground, and then a cleat, it appeared, of Matthews came down on Rodriguez. And I have a feeling he's been tattooed by that. Ball forward, seeking Bone. Comes down to Bryant. Steinwasser. Perez for Dia. Overload to the left with options, central, that gets out. Hey, let's take a look back at that just one more time. So not only the non-call on the foul, this push from Gibson in the middle of your screen, he gets Rodriguez, he goes down, and then the cleat of Matthews as he collapses to the ground. This is what it looked like after the fact.
Oh.
Good news is he's back on the field just now. Tosh wins it back. And Matthews is not a small human.
No. It's one of the best parts of his game, isn't it? The ability to body people off of it, which certainly proved fruitful in the first half. Love that chance that he and Reese Williams were able to work off of each other.
Ball out. Joella's Hot Chicken serving up just the right amount of spice with their Lou City Slider Pack. $5 from every pack sold, donated toward the Lou City Embracing Louisville Youth Academies. 7 heat levels to choose from. Joella's Hot Chicken isn't just about heat, it's about flavor. Steinwasser got that away in the nick of time. Serrano, foul, Job, yellow.
The one question for Blue City is going to be, can they maintain their ability to hold tempo within the game itself? Good job stretching the field wide. They're attacking down the middle. I mentioned how Harris and Mushagalusa have been so instrumental in that success, working off of each other, but is it enough? Because one of the things about this Detroit City team is they strike late, they do it often, home or away. There always seems to be some sort of magic maker for this team when they need it most. And this is one of those moments, inside 20 minutes to go on the road, trying to find a way to stay relevant within the top 4 so that they don't have to go on the road.
Yellow card presented by a World of Beer. Serrano helped up, and Louisville's planning a change here. Danny Cruz just called a sub over. They'll likely hold it for the time being. Lancaster has about 20 minutes or so in his legs tonight, according to Danny Cruz. Update from elsewhere as it pertains to the race for the #1 seed. Memphis has reached halftime, 1-0 their lead. Jeremy Kelly scoring in the 2nd minute of their match tonight. Serrano back up. 5th, 3rd free kick here for Louisville City. Diaz steps over. Serrano, too high for Perez. Back heel up the line, brilliant. But out of the reach of Dia. He's got a smile on his face. He knows he let that one leak away. Doge. Joe. Rodriguez. Back to Steinwasser. Win.
Well done.
Bryant.
This is a different press and pressure than we saw defensively in the first half for Lou City. Even with the tactical change, that could be a foul. And a high boot, not because of the challenge by Perez.
Harris. Harris. It's going to be a corner. Wynn remains down. He got spun like a top with his leg extended out there.
He goes real high, though. This is dangerous from Wynn trying to put his body in the way. You can't go this high with your cleats. It's that simple. Manny Perez recognizes the fact that touch is away. It's not a foul. It's the right call. Well done by Perez as the ball extends away from the body to step right through and then not go down. Notice the continuation by the player. Pure focus.
Wynn is back up. Winder scored off a corner. Give Louisville the lead in the 64th. 5-5 corner now toward Winder. Came up short of him. Mushagalusa got a touch. Perez early and short again. And now Detroit on the run. Jope leads the charge. Rodriguez had Ruts charging through midfield. Rodriguez up the right side line. Off of Winder. Corner, Detroit.
It's time to vote for tonight's Fantasy Sports Vision and Training Man of the Match. Final vote the official Louis City FC Twitter account at Louis City FC. Vote now for Man of the Match.
RGV and Memphis just kicked off their second half. Kelly's goal, the difference at the intermission. Wynn floats it up. Header away. This scoreline holds any drop points by Memphis tonight. Louisville will clinch a first-round bye. Rolled ahead. Mushagalusa. Steinwasser's out. And Mushagalusa hasn't been able to hit the broadside of a barn tonight. He's tried with some serious level of difficulty shots.
He gets close. This might be playing a little bit too much FIFA in the off time in the dressing room during training sessions and after a game. Head up. Spot Steinwasser off of his line. You do question it, though, because even though the on look is there, he's got a runner on the back post. He's done all the hard work. You take an extra touch here, drag them a little bit further, you cut the ball square back across. You've got a boatload of room to run into right at the top of the 18, and most likely the game winner.
Cameron Lancaster returned at RGV. And if an all-time single season record holder checks into a game and no one's around to see it, did it happen? Well, it certainly happened tonight. Mushagalusa comes off. He had his chances. Cameron Lancaster checks in, looking for goal number 74 of his illustrious career. Well, all eyes on Cam and just how much he's going to be able to give here down the stretch of the season. This is his first appearance at home since May 28th against Tulsa. Dev, you have Wilson Harris, who stepped in ably, but Cameron Lancaster, there's a reason he makes the big bucks, so to speak.
Yeah. The guy's one of the best in the entire business to do it. Single season is one argument. Friendly reminder that he's one of the more consistent to be able to do it within the USL Championship, and consistently over a couple years running now. As he certainly isn't necessarily known for the physical side of things, getting himself into trouble and possibly picking up a card real early.
He's sort of thinking, I came in 30 seconds ago, that's a card.
Can't do this, so you shove it in the back end, you have a little fun with the ball. It's a no-no. The referee says thank you very much, but yeah, it's the 25 in 2018, and even though things didn't go to plan with his Nashville contract, that was of course part of USL, and the opportunity to move into MLS, he still scored in 33% of his games. That's a down year for him. Right. 6 in 18, that's a down year for Cameron Lancaster. The 2020 year, he had 12 in 19 when you include postseason play. Last year, 20 regular season goals once again. And to your point, coming off the bench, never really hurts anybody. There's an interesting decision.
Pato goes down under the pressure of Gibson. Fans head to Twitter, vote on tonight's Lynn Family Sports Vision Training Man of the Match. Poll open next 5 minutes. Twitter.com/BlueCityFC. Rodriguez floats this to the backside, header down. That's away and a corner. And now they've overturned it. It's a goal kick. There's a little consternation there.
Looked to have come off of, the ball was over the line is the argument here from Lou City when he tries to head it back across.
Let's take a quick look at tonight's nugget of the match. It's presented by Chick-fil-A. You mentioned the 21 goal campaign. Just the second player in the championship to register a pair of 20-plus goal seasons.
You know the other one?
Daniel Rios?
Attaboy.
Did he do it twice in North Carolina or North Carolina, Nashville?
North Carolina, Nashville, I believe.
Still in Nashville. Rolled ahead here for Detroit. Seeking ball. Rutz and Pato were there. Now Detroit's won a corner.
Charlotte boy now.
Excuse me. Thank
you.
you.
It's okay. It's okay. I have no life for a reason.
I just called his game 2 months ago. 8 minutes and stoppage to go. Can Detroit pull level and then set their eyes on a win on the road? Declan Wynn. Take the corner for Detroit City. Ball whipped across dangerously. Morton whisks it away. Slide in, and Rodriguez slid. Play will come back. Detroit preparing to make changes. Here it comes. Job off. Francis Atuahene comes on. We're just chatting with Neil Rule today about the great Michigan teams of yesteryear.
Shaka Daly and all the products that he's produced. Of course, Francis Atuahene, one of them, 2015 to 2017. Prior to being drafted by FC Dallas, number 4th overall pick in 2018. This does make you more offensive-minded. More importantly, Mike, it adds speed. It adds speed because Z. Matthews and Pato Botello-Faz are great at hold-up play. They're good in the air, and they can finish in front of goal. They lack the overall ability to really stretch the game, though. So with the addition of Atuahene, you drop Connor Rutz back a little bit. That enables you to have the balance in the midfield next to Maxi Rodriguez. But those two are still going to go. Maxi Rodriguez is probably the wild card here that actually sits back a little bit more. He'll be that late run that you should expect coming out of the midfield if they are holding possession high. But more importantly, they can get back to the ability like you had with Opano in the first half, going direct up over the top, trying to challenge these center backs in the diagonal runs.
That's also the third and final window utilized by Trevor James. Sub for Steve Carroll, came off injured in the first half. Ouimet came on for him. Just out of halftime, Pato replaced Holpino. Get it back from Tosh. Grabbed by Morton, and then Atuahene comes on now for Joke, who was on a yellow card. There is no clean sheet in this tonight for Kyle Morton. He did make an outstanding kick save against RGV to preserve the points on the road. You have to think Detroit have at least one more good chance down the stretch here. Driven over Tosh. Morton will handle it this time. What do you think about Louisville in a three-back?
I've always liked the idea of it. You know, people who are just getting involved in the USL Championship now probably never had the opportunity to see them in a three-back under James O'Connor. It was a long time ago, obviously. It's been a couple of years, but it's an understanding from a systematic standpoint that that was the big change. When O'Connor left, went to Orlando City, John Hackworth comes in. They were up in arms when he went into a four-back. I mean, there was a revolt within the fans. Remember that?
Well, it was actually the players.
They weren't into it at all.
No, the players switched. Luke Spencer corrected me on that.
No, I'm saying they weren't into it at all when the change wasn't being made, when they were in the triumvirate.
Right.
They wanted to get away from it.
Right.
And it was something that they had discussed. Hackworth was tentative, and then said, you know what, this is the best look moving forward. Of course, they won a title. They went back to the final. But it's something that, to your point in the first half, Mike, personnel-wise, it makes perfect sense. I will say, though, that there is something about the chemistry overall within a team. If you haven't played that way regularly, it's hard to then find success when you need it most, but they've certainly done that tonight. A couple of minutes, though, to shore that up.
Win. Pato for Atuahene. Away by Sharpie. Laurent Kissedu has just put Memphis 2 goals ahead of RGV at AutoZone Park. Lewis, Pato, offside. Elijah Winder's going to come on and try and see the match out. Ray Serrano off. Only Louisville's second window utilized at this point.
It's a good shift by Ray Serrano, though. A lot was asked given his location. Started him high and wide, dropped him down in as they moved into the new system. Became much more congested on the inside. It's a player that, as the year has gone on, much to the chagrin of Wilson Harris and Mushagalusa, because their names have been in the spotlight mostly, he's just followed suit. He's brought up the rear a little bit slower than they would have liked, but he's certainly become one of the favorites and team choice selection throughout the season. It's on the back portion of it. I will say, though, that movement, like, much better from Detroit. That's the one thing that I have about them. The team is good enough. There's no question about that. And yes, they are better at home, but they get a little bit predictable at times. Good part of that argument is the wash, rinse, repeat. They don't veer away from the system. The bad time in that conversation is that sometimes you can become a bit too simplistic in nature. You understand where the runs are going to come from. Instead, you cut it back across, create a good chance on the back post. Runs just a little bit off.
Bryant runs it back. Steinwasser. Perez at the back of Pato. And a throw to come. Baptist Health Louisville provides nationally recognized orthopedic care locally. Learn more about their high-performing hospital ranking in knee replacement from U.S. News and World Report. BaptistHealth.com/ortho. Wynn having words.
I thought he took that off his head. Thank goodness it was his hands that got him up in front of his face. I thought Declan Wynn took this right to the noggin. That was scary. Who said you can't use your hands in this game?
I call that a natural position. Ball through for a Tuahene. He's offside. Well, he had to look right down the line. Stoppage time presented by Louisville Muhammad Ali International Airport. 3 more minutes.
Think about how the playoff picture looks now. They were sitting in 4th and right there with an opportunity to continue on and extend themselves a little bit, at least to make the pressure be felt by Birmingham Legion, and on an outside chance the Tampa Bay Rowdies. Now all of a sudden, at least for now, virtually one back of the Legion. The game in hand for the Birmingham Legion, although their schedule is certainly not easy.
Winder. I don't think any brothers have ever scored in the same game. He's saying that had to be a corner. It's not. Now they've reassessed. There was the deflection. Josh scored earlier. Elijah wins a corner this time.
That would have been one of the more interesting calls on this. I mean, I don't know. If you put 100 balls in front of me, I couldn't make it react like that.
Main referee didn't see that. The AR did apparently make the right call in real time and corrected the referee. Away by Morton. We met the header. Skew for Williams.
Careful what you wish for here. You come too deep. Don't put any pressure on the ball. You get away from where you found success. Could come back to haunt you.
It's going to be a throw for Detroit. Still another minute. Service forward. Morton collects it. Should be able to take a solid 10, 15 seconds off. That's a whistle, but not the whistle. Tosh. Lancaster and Bryant got tussled up. Steinwasser sends it away. Referee's going to let this play out a moment longer. Header from Tosh. It's got to go forward now for Detroit if they're to find an equalizer or two. Henny out of room. The glance at the watch. And that's full time. Winder's goal is the winner. Louisville City is on the cusp of the #1 seed in the Eastern Conference with a come-from-behind win on home ground. And they sweep the regular season series from Detroit. Tonight's Lynn Family Sports Vision training man of the match is Josh Winder, local kid, done good.
That's a heck of a goal by Josh Winder. He gets the nod at halftime. They change systems, but the vision always clear within this organization. Find a way to exploit moving forward. Get your biggest attacking names into the box, and guess what? It wasn't any of them. It was Josh Winder, the youngster leading from the back line. His second goal of the season, third in all competitions. That sends them into raptures, 3 points, and to remain atop the Eastern Conference.
So Winder gets it done. That was in the 64th minute. Louisville scored in the 61st as well. Let's take a look at the Toyota move of the game. Toyota, let's go places.
That was just a little back and forth. It was after the 1-2 with Mushagalusa and Wilson Harris. A little round and round we go on the rodeo. You ever ride the teacups, Mike?
Not in a while.
Not in Louisville.
Do they have teacups in Louisville?
We could find some. I'm sure some establishment has them.
Probably.
Bourbon for sure.
Well, bourbon cups, yes. So Harris scores in the 61st, his 15th of the year. And some moments there between Hopino and some of his former compatriots. As Detroit leads early, but Louisville responds. Hopino against his former club, his 7th of the year. And chances for Detroit to extend the lead. Instead, Louisville able to walk away with all 3 points. We'll wrap it up when we return.
It all starts with a smile. To show you care, offer a sign of love, welcome someone home. Even when we don't see each other, or share a room, even without words, smiles bring us together. Let's keep yours healthy. Mortensen Family Dental. Schedule online at mortensondental.com.
Did you know Toyota actually spends $1 million every hour of every day on R&D?
It's all part of an even larger $36 billion investment to design and build vehicles in the USA.
Made in America means something to Toyota, like 176,000 jobs and over 32 million Toyotas built right here in the USA.
And for over 20 years, Toyota's electrified vehicles have been leading the way towards a better tomorrow.
The more you know, the more you'll drive Toyota.
Let's go places.
Welcome to U of L Health Heart Hospital, an exciting chapter in the Jewish hospital story. If these walls could talk, you would hear stories of over 40 medical firsts. As the area's only heart hospital, we focus on comprehensive heart care, where academic research pioneers innovative treatments, and a world-class network of experts offers life-changing care. Here, your heart is in the right place.
Welcome back to the postgame. It's presented by Kentucky Office of Highway Safety. Louisville wins it, and Winder celebrating and signing for his loyal local fans. He wins it in the 64th, and it's a pretty rare second-half comeback.
Brothers in arms, and we haven't seen this from Louisville since July of 2019. Now, to be fair, that's only a stretch of 11 games, which gives you an idea that this team usually gets out in front and stays out in front. But as we turn things back around, you go back to the first half, they almost got there. Mushagalusa, though, toes the line a bit too early. Good ball back across, but he needed to peel this run more, Mike. If he comes a little bit more square, the ball in the corner, they get the 1-0 lead. Instead, you turn the page, and Detroit City starts to fight back in. I made the argument before. This was about balance for this team. Everything had been down the right-hand side, but it was too restricted in nature. They were pinned in their own half. They didn't have Reese Williams high. They couldn't find balls into the box, and so it was being shut down. That allowed Lou City to build over and over again, though they certainly didn't get a lot of chances from it.
So Harris would eventually get his chance. The game summary tonight presented by Liquor Barn. Ball ahead to Holpino shortly before halftime, 1-0 Detroit.
It's bread and butter. It's the exact same look you see every time, and I got no problem with it because they're really good at executing. Ball from the outside in transition. Danny Cruz knew it. He told his players they couldn't get in after it, though. So as you turn the page into the second half, friendly reminder, they lose their center back, Stephen Carroll. It was a massive blow, especially with the formation change by Lou City. Musha Galusa and Wilson Harris were incredible in the second half because they worked so well together. There was not a ton of space between them. They went left and right respectively in unison. They played off of each other. There's your game tire. That's your game winner. Josh Winder in the 64th minute, beautiful ball from the corner, puts it down into the bottom corner. Not many have been able to beat Nate the Great this season, but the youngster does it. They grab 3 points and still remain number one in the Eastern Conference.
River City Flooring full-time match stats. Chance to have for your final thoughts. The possession really didn't change that much from halftime. Louisville able to put the pedal down, 17 shots at the end of the night.
Here's the biggest thing you're going to notice, though, in terms of stats. We're looking at the exact same shots and shots on target for Detroit City that we were at halftime. That was a problem. I told you that coming in, the great thing about Trevor James, and they did it a ton in Nisa, is because of their personnel, he was so good tactically at making multiple adjustments. This team just doesn't have that in their DNA. That's okay. They lost at one of the most difficult places to play in the USL Championship. It just happened to be the fact that they needed it to get into a top 4 spot. That doesn't mean the dream is gone. It just means it's a little bit more difficult to attain because Birmingham Legion now have that game and the point advantage.
Well, Louisville gets the job done here tonight, and, well, no need for shoes out there. Danny Cruz, the sun came out. He had to peel him off his feet. He just wasn't having it. And the celebration continues. For the first time as a head coach, he's led a team from a halftime deficit to a victory. Louisville City and Detroit, two great fan bases coming together at Lynn Family Stadium for a major clash. And Detroit fails to move above that top 4 line. Tonight's final score brought to you by Gorski Law Office. It finishes Louisville 2, Detroit 1.
This copyrighted telecast of the United Soccer League Championship cannot be retransmitted, rebroadcast, or reproduced without the expressed written consent of the United Soccer League Championship.